My sister and I both got sent back to the day we were adopted. She slipped seafood powder into my food to trigger my allergy, then went on to steal the spot. As the rich family's daughter, this time around I'm the one who's gonna live it up, sis. Your rich dad, caring brother, and obedient little sister. They're all mine now. I put on an act, crying on the outside, but inside I was dying of laughter. I finally escaped those claws. My sister has no clue. The whole rich family is full of weirdos. Now they're hers. When the billionaire showed up at the orphanage, all the kids rushed out to greet him. Me, I was covered in rashes. No way I could meet anyone. The headmistress asked why the sudden allergy. Out of nowhere I feigned confusion. But I knew exactly who messed with my food. It was my sister Melody in my previous life. On this very day, the rich man Martin came to the orphanage with his son, daughter looking to adopt another child. They picked me. I went from an orphan to a rich heiress just like that. Not only did I get a life of luxury, I also got a handsome brother who doted on me, and a sweet obedient sister. Later I even married that brother. He adored me endlessly. Melody would always glare at me, squirming with jealousy. Why do you get everything? What makes you so special? So when I found myself back at the orphanage and realized that Melody had secretly messed with my food, I knew we were both reborn. Outside the kids were chatting with envy. Did you hear that Melody saved Emily? She's definitely getting adopted now. So lucky. Under the flowering tree, Melody held the hand of a little girl who had my beloved teddy bear in her grasp. In my previous life, when a car almost hit Emily, I saved her and gave her my toy for comfort. Melody, now copying me, stole my teddy bear, made me allergic, so I couldn't go outside, and instead claimed the glory of saving Martin's daughter. She gave me a smug grin from across the crowd. She didn't really think I hadn't noticed her sneaky moves last night in the kitchen or the fishy smell in today's soup, did she? The headmistress sighed. Gloria, you're so smart and well-behaved. I thought for sure you'd be the one to get adopted. I replied with a sweet, considerate smile. It's okay if my sister gets adopted. I'll be happy for her. If Melody wants it, she can have it. After being reborn, I absolutely don't want to join that family again, because truth be told, that family is outright scary. A little later, Melody walked in holding the little girl's hand. Don't be afraid, everyone's gonna be your friend. Melody cooed softly. The little girl, dressed in a lace princess dress with delicate features, looked like she just walked out of a royal palace. This is Emily. She's 8 years old. Clutching Melody's hand and speaking timidly. Melody, I only want you as my friend. My sis stroked Emily's face and threw me a triumphant look. Emily's so dependent on my sis. She must think she's got a guaranteed ticket into that family. And with Emily being so sweet and innocent, like a little bunny, my sis must think she can control her however she wants. In the future, a little bunny. I looked at a timid Emily and my skin crawled. Emily isn't any innocent little bunny. In my last life, I thought Emily was just your ordinary girl at first, too, until she sliced open a duck with a knife and pulled out its bloody insides. I broke into a cold sweat. She wasn't afraid at all, even smiling with her blood-stained hands. Why aren't you smiling? Isn't the duck cute? Emily's got a taste for blood. She loves to cut open living things, watch them struggle, then die. The whole family knows it, but they all just let her be. Right now, Melody was telling everyone how she just saved Emily. Emily wanted to save a kitten from the street, so I rushed over and pulled her back with the kitty. If I'd been a minute late, Emily might have been hurt. I watched, smiling with a sigh. Oh, my poor sis. You haven't figured it out yet. Emily standing in the street wasn't to save the kitten. She wanted to see what it looked like. When the cat got run over, the door swung open and a guy walked in. Who saved my sister? Asked the tall, handsome guy with piercing, cold eyes and a skin tone like icy jade. This is Henry. As soon as I saw him, I ducked my head and hid behind the others. Melody, however, stepped up and shyly stared at Henry. It was me. Henry's lips curled into a smile. Was it you? How would you like to be rewarded? Melody shook her head. Saving someone just came naturally. I don't want any reward so long as Emily's okay. She's so sweet. I'd be upset if she got hurt. She knows Henry likes this type. In the last life. That's how I slowly got into Henry's heart. To everyone else, Henry adored me beyond words. They said he was a major siscon before marriage. And a wife-obsessed sweetie after marriage. Melody always yelled at me, wondering why it was me married to Henry and not her. Now Henry stood in front of her, eyeing her with focused interest. Henry's smile widened. You're such a good girl. Would you like to be my sister? He reached out, tucking Melody's stray hair behind her ear. His thumb brushed against her neck, seemingly by accident. Melody flushed a deep red. Shy as could be, Henry seemed utterly charmed by her at first sight. But I could see the excitement in Henry's eyes. He was feeling the pulse under his skin, thinking how much blood might spurt if his neck got slashed. I lowered my head even more, hiding at the back of the crowd. I was terrified Henry would notice me, even after being reborn. Seeing him made me instinctively tremble. But Melody kept pestering me. After Henry took Emily outside, she ran over to brag. They said they want to adopt me. I'm gonna be a rich girl. Oh, and Henry is super handsome, right? Who knows, I might even marry him someday. Melody wasn't just eager to replace me as their adopted daughter. She also wanted to marry Henry, just like I did in my last life. But she didn't know. Henry was the biggest weirdo in their family. In middle school, I was bullied by some classmates. The next day, none of them showed up to class. They all got into accidents. The one who slapped me had his leg broken. 2 grades older Henry casually walked out of the honors class to pick me up after school. Gloria, you're my sister. No one touches you. Henry whispered these words against my ear, sounding like a caring brother. But the darkness in his eyes told me there was more. An overwhelming possessiveness. In high school, a guy gave me a love letter. Panicking, I refused to take it, knowing if my brother found out, it wouldn't end well. But he blushed and pushed it into my hand anyway. That weekend, his phone call surprised me. I rushed over and saw Henry. He kicked the guy already unconscious, like he was about to kill him. Then he held a sharp scalpel to the guy's fingers. Don't worry, it won't hurt much. I pulled Henry back, crying and begging him, brother, no, you'll kill someone. Henry held my hand down. Gloria, how should you persuade me? Was it the left hand that took the letter? He held my left hand, kissing each finger slowly, one after another, sending chills through my whole body. Gloria, you belong to me. His burning kiss fell on me. I shut my eyes tight. I knew Henry had a terrifyingly obsessive hold over me. As his sister, sometimes groggy in the middle of the night, I'd find him just standing there, watching me or even lying beside me, pretending not to notice. But after that love letter incident, he stopped pretending. He kissed me at night, telling me to call him brother. This pervert. Marrying him later had been his idea too. Actually, Melody found a good family later. Not as rich but still well off. But she still wanted Henry. After my wedding in a past life, she brought a gift to my birthday party. Then, under the influence of alcohol, she cozied up to Henry. Henry, I've always liked you. Henry smirked, looking at her intensely. I told Melody to stay away from Henry. Melody was furious. Why, you? We're twins, why do you get everything? Let me tell you, Gloria, Henry will definitely fall for me. I only wanted to save her life. But she misunderstood my intentions. Henry had found a fun toy. He was toying with her the whole night. Finally, he dragged me into the dark basement. There was an operating table and surgical tools in there, making my skin crawl. Henry pinned me against the door, kissing me. She seems to like me a lot. How about slicing her open? If we get her, she won't bother you again. The knife on the table glinted coldly. I'd heard screams coming from that basement more than once. Servants drag sacks outside in the night, enough to give anyone chills. I watched my legs weak. No, I love brother most. I like that she competes with me, knowing my brother only loves me. Henry smiled contentedly. I saved Melody from the brink of death back then. But this life, if she insists on getting close to them, I can't help her. The news about adopting Melody was out. They all showed up and my sister stood among them. smiling brightly. Martin was there too, dressed in a sharp black suit, exuding fierce elegance. He suddenly asked the director, "I heard Melody has a twin sister. Who's that?" I got pulled out by the director. Standing in front of them, Martin gently asked me, "Gloria, would you like to come home with your sister?" Melody's eyes widened in panic, staring at me intently. She didn't want me taking any of her affection. Martin smiled, waiting for my answer. Looking dashing, I hesitated, fidgeting with my clothes, suddenly dry heating. Martin frowned. "What's wrong with her?" The director awkwardly explained. "Gloria is allergic to seafood. She accidentally ate something bad today, but otherwise she's fine." See, Martin's eyes suddenly turns deep. "Is that so?" He glanced at the fading rash on my face, a coldness in his gaze. There was no need for them to adopt a child with health problems. In the end, I wasn't adopted. Melody cried like a delicate flower when she left, hugging me, saying, "I'll come see you often. Take care of yourself," but whispered only I could hear. "My dad doesn't want you anyway. Just stay here at the orphanage forever. Don't dream of turning into some princess." I wiped imaginary tears from my eyes, secretly breathing a sigh of relief. Great, I didn't have to go there. God knows how nervous I was, pretending to puke. Melody didn't know Martin was no good person. In the last life, when Emily cut open small animals, Martin just watched with a smile, as if she was playing with dolls. When Henry came out of the basement covered in blood, Martin only told him calmly, "Don't dirty your hands." Martin adopted children, just to find someone to be toys for his 2 kids. The adopted child also had the job of shielding Emily from trouble. Emily had been frail since birth. Martin consulted a fortune teller. He was told Emily needed a life force match until she turned 12, so he decided to adopt a daughter. I won't let history repeat itself. So just now when Martin asked me, I pretended to gag a couple of times. There's no way. Martin wants to adopt someone who seems frail. He definitely choose someone strong and healthy for his daughter. Looking at Melody beaming with joy, I shook my head with a mix of emotions. She's already calling him dad. So what else can I do but give my blessings? At 13, Melody and I parted ways. She comes back to the orphanage once a month, claiming to visit me but really just to show off, flaunting her expensive jewelry and limited edition clothes, worth thousands. I told them not to be extravagant, but Dad and brother insisted on buying them for me. Maybe I'm just lucky, unlike you, sister, who still hasn't found a family. She'd proudly raise her eyebrows but then grimace, rubbing her bruised knee. Why do I keep tripping and falling? It hurts so much. From her tone, it seemed like she often had minor mishaps, tripping over, nearly getting hit by cars, choking on food. Melody didn't seem to realize that her lavish lifestyle came at the cost of physical mishaps. 1 month she didn't come, and the director said she got kidnapped and was recovering at home, apparently boasting about being a rich family's daughter. Caught the wrong attention, and the kidnappers took her instead of Emily. By the time she was rescued, she was battered and bruised and cried endlessly. 15, I got adopted by the principal of a school for the deaf and mute. He was a chubby, kind-looking man with a wealthy home. He had a son named John, who wore an earring and had a delicate, yet gloomy appearance. Honestly, I was thrilled to be adopted by them, but a fire broke out in their home, and my adoptive father died in it, leaving me back at the orphanage. The director patted my head sadly. "Gloria, don't worry. I'll find a good family for you. You know, once you turn 18, you can't be adopted anymore. In a few more years, I would lose my chance to find a family." With tears in my eyes, I rushed into the director's arms. I craved family warmth so much. Melody came over and mockingly laughed at me. "You're such bad luck. You finally found a family, and yet you brought them misfortune. Maybe you'll be alone forever, dear sister." Just then the director called me over. "Gloria, there's a new family interested in adopting you both." Melody and I looked over to see Martin's beaming face. Melody looked like she'd been slapped. "Dad, you're adopting her?" "No, it's Steven. He and his wife haven't been able to have kids, so they want to adopt." I thought, Having both sisters in one place would be nice. Stephen Martin's gardener. The director asked if I was excited. I suddenly remembered in a past life. The gardener had tended to the garden wonderfully. The soil was rich and the flowers were abundant. Having him as family seemed like a good choice. I smiled and nodded. After all, the family wouldn't really allow rejection. And how could an orphan like me refuse such kindness? So I became the gardener's adopted daughter. Apart from school, I helped my adoptive parents tend to the garden. Emily started visiting every day. After once running into me, obsessed with playing with me when I worked. She'd cut worms into pieces and laugh as they squirmed. "Gloria, I love playing with you." I couldn't even muster a smile. I just hoped she'd grow bored of me soon. Seeing Emily so attached to me made Melody furious. She'd storm over and yell at me. "Gloria, you're so cunning. Trying to win Emily over to sneak into our home. It's not going to work. Emily likes me more," she said with a grin and asked Emily. "Emily, do you like your sister?" Emily's big, dark eyes stared at her and nodded obediently. Satisfied, Melody raised her chin. But, seeing Emily still enjoying the ice cream I gave her, she lost her temper. "Emily, let's go. Don't eat what others give you." Poor Emily got dragged away by Melody. Melody gave me a triumphant smirk, as if saying she was the one who could control Emily. But later that night I saw Emily with a sinister look, holding scissors, while snipping at a doll in the corner. With a devilish grin she muttered, "It'll be more fun when it's fatter and ready to cut." Chills ran down my spine. "Melody, you've picked the wrong person to mess with. Emily can be dangerous." Melody constantly worried I'd steal her place, trying to make Emily hate me. One day after school, Melody ran over with tear-filled eyes, accusing me. "Emily likes you so much. How could you strangle her favorite bunny?" "Sister, I can't believe you're like this." She claimed all the bunnies were dead, and since I'm the one who usually fed them, I was the last person seen on the surveillance camera. She probably tampered with the footage to frame me. Emily stood stunned by the bunnies, seemingly hurt by their deaths. Melody shot me a "you're done for" look. If Emily snapped, it'd be disastrous. And as just the gardener's daughter now, Melody probably thought I'd be in big trouble. But Emily suddenly walked over and hugged my waist. "Sister, I like you." "Well, what?" Melody's eyes bulged in shock, her face turning different shades of disbelief. This wasn't how she planned. Emily was supposed to cry and make her dad kick me out. Why was she hugging me instead? My sister was probably questioning life. I might have a good guess why. Emily loves slicing small animals. Maybe she saw me as kindred. What's going on? Looks like another little psycho's attached herself to me. Emily became even clingier, constantly calling me sister. So I often hid from her, playing hide and seek around the garden. One day I tucked myself into a corner of the bushes, intending to take a short nap. Out of nowhere I felt someone's breath against my ear. I snapped my eyes open, and there was Henry standing next to me. He casually reached over and plucked a leaf from above my head, letting it float to the ground. I looked down, my body trembling instinctively. Henry's eyes narrowed slightly, and his skin looked sickly pale in the sunlight. He leaned in, seeming to take pleasure in the way I was shivering. He studied me with an inquisitive look and asked, "Are you scared of me?" "Scared? More like terrified." But I kept my composure and said, "Why would I be? I just got startled seeing you." Suddenly, sunlight dappled his face, giving his skin an unsettling glimmer, like fractured jade. Yet he smirked and said, startled, "Afraid I might eat you." He smiled, soft and harmless like a spring camellia. But I knew the twisted truth. Beneath his charming exterior, I was genuinely scared in every sense. I had even picked out my coffin color in that instant. Henry loved to toy with people, and I caught the amusement in his eyes. So I played along with a smile. "Of course not. Young master. Your presence is awe-inspiring. I'm just overwhelmed by your charm." I laid it on thick, feigning admiration. Henry was used to attention, but this kind of oily flattery usually made him cringe. In my past life he only liked those who acted untouched, like innocent little flowers. Sure enough, my act seemed to slip by unnoticed. But later at night, half asleep, I suddenly sensed someone nearby. Familiar breathing, mixed with the crisp scent of cedar and amber. Henry, why are you in my room? What a creep. Wandering around at night like some dark prince. In my last life he used to visit my stepsister's room. In this life I thought I was flying under his radar. Was this a test? I silently cursed 100 times over, hoping he wouldn't notice me. Henry chuckled, suddenly a whack. Eek. But pretending chills ran from my head to my toes. But I stayed still. After a long silence I felt the mattress sink slightly. It seemed like Henry laid down beside me. Was he trying to catch me in a lie? I barely fought off sleep and eventually drifted off. The night passed peacefully. Henry didn't bother me again. Life stayed calm for me in this household. Except for Melody. Whenever Henry and I bumped into each other, she'd rush over. She seemed to have a thing for Henry, so she mimicked my past life personality, acting like an innocent flower in front of him. She'd confront me alone in the garden, later saying, "Gloria, you're only enjoying family privileges because of me. If you get too close to Henry, I'll ruin you." Melody was likely feeling threatened. I was the only adopted daughter in our past life, but now I shared this space with her. She wasn't sure how things would unfold. "You misunderstood. I'm not interested in him," I hinted. "With so many girls liking your brother, you should make sure to stand out." She was livid. "I know I don't need you to tell me." She seemed more and more on edge because up to now, Henry hadn't confessed his feelings for her. I was curious to see what would happen to Melody in this family, but between classes and helping my foster father with the garden, I didn't have much time to worry. After school, I headed to the bathroom and the door slammed shut. A gardener's kid and she thinks she's something special. Cindy, the school's rich princess. LED, the group. She disliked how Melody always got attention and decided to pick on me instead. Since Melody was off limits, standing beside her was Ben from the class next door. He was infatuated with Melody, ready to do anything for her. Melody is the sweetest, most genuine girl I've ever met. Her happiness is my happiness. Now Ben glared at me. "Who do you think you are making her upset?" It clicked. Cindy couldn't touch Melody, so she targeted me. And Ben was likely here to defend Melody's honor. "Why are you standing around? Get her." They grabbed my arms, yanked my hair, and a guy even punched my stomach. It was too much. I elbowed my way free, grabbing someone's hair and slapping them, then biting the guy who punched me. Absolutely losing it. "You bit me. Are you a dog? Who else wants some?" She's insane. They were used to picking on students with ordinary backgrounds for fun, but weren't prepared for someone who fought back. They were stunned. Suddenly Melody burst in. "How can you bully her? Even if she's the gardener's daughter. That's no excuse." Melody appeared fragile but firm, standing up for a classmate. Then she slipped crashing into a stall door, getting a face full of cold water. A trap meant for me, but I'd only washed my hands. Someone else walked in. "Who's messing with my family?" It was Henry. One look at him and Cindy and Ben cowered. Melody was biting her lip, almost in tears, soaked and looking pitifully disheveled. I was enscathed with bruises hidden under my clothes. To everyone else it was clear who'd been more bullied. Melody. Then it dawned on me in my last life. When I was first bullied, Henry began driving me to school. Everyone knew I was under his protection, and no one dared mess with me. But in this life, Melody claimed her place as the family princess. Early on, avoiding trouble, Melody was anxious, confused about why Henry hadn't expressed his feelings, so she staged a scene, hoping to trigger his protective instincts. I could only smirk. Unexpectedly, Henry walked straight over to me. "You're bleeding." He studied my injured lip with a strange fascination. "It's not mine." He seemed intrigued by my blood-stained lip, while others saw something entirely different. Melody was almost speechless. She couldn't understand why Henry looked at me first. And feeling wrong, she yelled out, "Bro. Melody, are you feeling upset?" Tears welled up in Melody's eyes, making her look like a delicate white flower. Strong yet pitiable. "I'm fine as long as Gloria isn't hurt. They didn't do it on purpose. So don't get mad, okay? I don't want to cause any trouble for the family." Melody really does know her stuff. Henry smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. It seemed like he was looking at a toy he was about to get bored of. His hand was ever so lightly placed on Melody's neck, like he could strangle her at any second. Bro. Melody's face turned red with embarrassment. Let's listen to Melody this time and let them off, Henry said nonchalantly. Melody got the answer she was hoping for. She thought Henry must like her, even if he hadn't revealed it yet. Cindy and Ben apologized to gritted teeth, and the guy I'd bitten on the ear didn't utter a sound. He just went to the hospital himself. Melody, wearing Henry's jacket, was LED home by him. She turned her head and gave me a mocking smile. Meanwhile, I took the bus home alone. Behind me, footsteps approached. A clean-cut boy in a white t-shirt blocked my way. It was Jay from Class 3. Here, this is for you. The setting sun reflected in his eyes, like there was a shimmering glow. I didn't take it. I knew it was a love letter. Jay had given me one in a past life too. The next day his dad got laid off from a high position, tangled in debt from fraud, and Henry had him taken to an abandoned factory. Under the pretense of collecting debts, they nearly cut off each of the fingers he'd used to hold the love letter. Gloria, I like you. I know you've had it rough. When you were little, your dad was taken by your mom, and later you ended up in an orphanage, until someone finally adopted you. I really felt for you. Be with me. I'll take good care of you. Did Melody tell you that? I asked softly. Jay admitted it. No one but Melody knew about my past. The memories pulled me back in time. How old were Melody and I when our parents died? 6 or 7. Those were some pretty bloody memories. I smirked. Thanks, but right now, I just want to live well with my adoptive parents. I don't want to date anyone. It was definitely Melody playing the sympathy card in one hand, while getting someone to confess to me with the other. But there's no need for her to rush. I just want to have a good life with my family. When I got home, my foster dad was busy working in the garden. His fingernails were filled with dark soil, but he wasn't bothered, smiling all the while. Gloria, give me a hand. Is the new fertilizer in? Yes, my foster dad replied quietly. Plant early and these flowers will bloom beautifully. Yep, they'll bloom fragrant and charming. I smiled and went to help. After the bathroom incident, Melody seemed especially relaxed. I was relaxed too. The only hiccup was sometimes finding an extra Emily under the covers. Gloria, hold me, she said. You're too big now, I can't hold you. I sighed. Emily, go sleep in your room. Henry appeared at the door. But I like Gloria. I want to sleep with her. Do you know how you sleep? You'll keep Gloria up. Emily clutched her toy, her face suddenly darkening. Is bro trying to snatch Gloria from me? This pair of siblings really shared that same twisted way of thinking. In the end, Emily agreed to go back to her room. After hearing a story, Henry actually did a good deed today, so I thanked him. No need to thank me, Henry smiled. His skin was like white jade with a rogue elegance, dark eyes swirling with unfathomable thoughts. Why does it feel like I saved you instead of Melody? I seem to remember something interesting. Did Jay hand you a love letter? Which hand was it? What did Henry mean? Surely he can't remember things from our past lives. Tell me a story already. Emily waved her hand in front of me. Halfway through, the door swung open. Seeing Emily beside me, Melody rushed over. Emily, why are you here? This is where the servants live. It's dirty. It'll make you sick. No, I want to be with Gloria. You get down. Melody, seated, jaw clenched, and yanked her away, even slapping Emily. Emily held her toy, glaring darkly at Melody. Suddenly she flung the toy to the ground. I hate you now. That was the toy Melody had stolen from me at the orphanage to give to Emily, and it had been her favorite all this time. I sighed silently, feeling a twinge of sympathy for Melody. After that day, Melody returned to her gentle sister demeanor. But before she could win Emily over, things went wrong. Falling down the stairs, almost ending up in a sewer with a missing cover, even eating fruit only to find a big fat worm. Damn it, is someone cursing me? Emily blew a fuse, even went to the temple, thinking she was down on her luck. Only I saw Emily rubbing oil on the stairs. Saw her appear ominously behind Melody. almost sending her down the sewer smirking. Had the housekeeper buy. Reject fruit from vendors on purpose. I suddenly got it. How Melody protected Emily from disasters before. Even if there wasn't a disaster, if she pissed off Emily, the girl would create a mess of her own. I tried to warn her Emily's their real daughter. You should stop messing with her. But Melody ignored my advice. Accused me of mocking her. No convincing her, not in the slightest. Melody seemed desperate to prove her standing with Emily. And Henry, getting more concerned about Emily with every turn. As a result of being curious, I ended up witnessing Emily dissecting a rabbit. Emily, what are you doing? How could you kill a rabbit and cut it open? Henry walked over to Melody. Looked worried. Emily is actually killing a rabbit. Rabbits are so cute, how can you kill them? Emily's young. Maybe she doesn't have respect for life yet. We need to teach her right. But Henry just glanced at Emily and her rabbit and said, lightly, let her be. Do you have anything else? If not, I'll take Emily to wash her hands. Melody looked like she was about to cry. Emily's only around 10. And she killed a living rabbit with her own hands. But Henry didn't seem to blame or be surprised. He even talked to her this way. Actually, Melody should have noticed Emily's quirks before. But since she came to the family, she's just been enjoying her life as a noble lady, and hasn't spent much time with Emily. That night, I heard she smashed a lot of things in her room. Out of anger, Linda said that one of the housekeepers complained a lot about the bad luck. While cleaning it up, Melody took a hit, and probably wanted to do something about it. But recently it's been eerily quiet. Jay messaged me asking to meet up. When we met, the equipment room door just wouldn't open. In the corner of the equipment room, incense was burning, giving off a sweet and clawing smell. Jay blushed quickly. Are you feeling okay? Suppressing the discomfort, I asked, was it Melody? How did she convince you? She said you liked me but were too shy to say anything. Also, she said that being in a closed space can foster feelings between people, and you'd eventually confess to me. Jay spilled everything. He probably realized it wasn't just a closed space. Melody added some fuel to the fire. Sorry, I messed up. I didn't expect her to light that incense. Jay was flustered like a lobster being cooked. He looked both naive and silly. He's probably just a real fool, but not bad-hearted. That's why he survived in this life. I stared at him and the solid steel pipes behind him, before looking away. On sports day, Jay and I jumped into the school's artificial lake, becoming a spectacle at school. Jay broke the equipment room window and apologized to me. After Emily's incident, Melody grew uneasy about Henry again, and desperately tried to kick me out of the house. But this time she really overstepped my boundaries. She is going to provoke Emily or even Henry. I'm done reminding her. On the night of a torrential downpour, Melody woke everyone up. She accused Uncle Stephen has stolen something from your underground lab. Stephen, our family doesn't treat the servants poorly. The pay meals and lodging are the best. How could you steal my brother's belongings? No wonder she's been sneaking around the garden, looking for a chance to kick them out. Naturally, I'd also be leaving then. But at this moment, no one paid attention to Melody's accusations. Everyone just watched her quietly. How do you know? Asked Henry. I saw it with my own eyes. Only my brother can enter his lab. But Uncle Stephen went in secretly and dragged the sack out. We can't keep such servants. What if he steals the family's gold and jewelry next? No one responded to her. Henry just quietly looked at her, with a slight smirk on his lips. Sack, huh? I sighed. Melody thought she had a hold on something, but she didn't know what was in those sacks. I know shortly after I arrived in my past life, I discovered Henry's secret in the dark basement. The things he did, and every so often, there be a sack carried out by the servants. Facing Melody's interrogation, Stephen replied calmly, I think you might have misunderstood. I didn't steal anything. The sack only has fertilizer. Melody protested. Yeah, right. Who are you fooling? Why would fertilizer come out of my brother's lab? My brother's lab is for scientific experiments. Can you show us what you took? Melody looked at both Henry and Martin. Why isn't anyone speaking up? Why isn't Henry angry? Even Martin doesn't have any expression. Even if he didn't steal. Entering a place only the owner should be in is a major taboo in this family. If Melody were perceptive enough, she noticed the way these two were looking at her. It's the look you give someone who's got one foot in the grave. But Melody insisted on determining right from wrong. You can't be overprotective of him enough. Martin, who had been standing beside, lost his patience and slapped her. Melody screamed, clutching her face, looking at Martin in disbelief. Dad, waking us up in the middle of the night for this. It's not your place to decide. Everyone go back to sleep immediately. Dad, that's not what I meant. Melody started crying in grievance. Martin ignored her and went back to his room. Melody looked pitifully at Henry. Henry ignored her too and left with Emily. Melody stood frozen, feeling utterly helpless. Her father and brother, who usually adored her, were so cold today. How could things be like this? For the first time, Melody was at a loss. Emily and Henry's actions, all the wealth and Henry's affection, those should belong to her. But now, everything seemed to be slipping out of her grasp. The whole household seemed to carry a faint, eerie vibe. It must be Gloria. She's the one who stole what's rightfully hers. No way, she needs to find a way to regain approval. Meanwhile, I approached Stephen a bit concerned. Dad, is there really that much fertilizer? Recently, Stephen was planting a dahlia in the soil, humming a tune, fully focused. Ignoring me. Dahlia's flowers are large and its petals are vibrant. Like fresh blood, the fragrance drilling into one's nose. Dad, I persisted. I got it myself. Stephen said in a low voice. Without good fertilizer, my flowers can't grow. But Dad, this doesn't seem right over there enough. What do you know? Don't interrupt my planting. Stephen's eyes lit up as he continued planting flowers, almost looking a bit manic. I sighed internally. A gardener who doesn't follow instructions is no good. Stephen loved planting flowers way too much. Almost to the point of obsession. Maybe I'll have to get a new family member again. Recently things have been calm. Melody's been busy. She wants to win back their favor. That night opportunity knocked John. The estate is big and it gets so quiet at night. She saw the gardener head to the basement again. This time she's caught him in the act. Let's see how she deals with him. She quickly took out her phone and snapped a few photos of Stephen coming out of the basement, smiling triumphantly. Martin wasn't home yet and Henry wasn't around either. It's pretty late. Henry might have gone to the lab, just missing her by chance. Melody and I ran into each other in the hallway, before the basement stairs. She was smug. Gloria, you're done for. I got photos of your gardener dad sneaking into the lab. You know those freeloaders who treat the owner's house like their own. They're gonna get kicked out. She started heading to the basement and insisted I go with her too. I have something to talk to you about. Can I come in? Henry gave her a curious look and smirked. Come in. I wasn't lying about Uncle Stephen sneaking in. I even got photos tonight of him coming out. Oh, and I've never been to the lab before. What kind of experiments are you doing, brother? So mysterious. Melody babbled, looking around. In a moment she went behind the curtain. Her smile froze. She clamped her hand over her mouth. Behind the curtain was an operating table, with a man strapped to it. His stomach was cut open, showing his bloody insides. Even one leg was chopped off, with the severed limb lying half an inch from Melody's feet. More things came into her view. On one side of a cabinet were all sorts of instruments. She didn't even want to guess their use. And on the other side were jars and vials. She turned pale, sweat dripping cold down her forehead. Henry's voice was light and elegant, but it made her skin crawl. Didn't you really want to know what experiments I'm doing here? She suddenly realized what Henry was up to in the lab. She remembered more things. The rabbit cutting Emily. How Henry never blamed his sister, as if she was overreacting. Emily cut open little animals. Henry cuts people all at the house. It's impossible. Martin didn't know. There's only one possibility. They're all freaks. She panicked. Did my interest scare you? Henry teased, his smile almost playful. Just trying to study human anatomy and test the company's new drugs. This man, he was abusive to his wife. beat her till her internal organs got damaged. But nothing happened to him. Someone like that alive. Better he'd satisfy my curiosity. Don't you think? Henry's grin widened. His skin under the cold lab light appeared eerily pale. Like a devil released from hell. Melody was on the verge of tears. The air smelled foul. She was so scared she wet herself. Damn, why did she rush to take Gloria's place? As the adopted daughter. She was crazy to dig her own grave. Wait, Gloria had always been there in the past life too. So she knew their secret, right? Hold on, could Gloria be reborn too? Knowing and intentionally letting her take her place. Melody's face darkened with anger and hate. She quickly thought up a plan and smiled at Henry. It's just a small interest of brothers. How could you be wrong? As your sister, of course I support you. This man's done. Isn't brother short of a new toy? What about Gloria? A cruel light flashed in Melody's eyes. As she suggested I be the next. I got tied up. Melody even did it herself. It's not that I want to kill you. It's just your time, she whispered in my ear. Strapped to the chair I begged. Choking up, please let me go. Henry waved a knife around me. I was shaking all over. Melody laughed, stop scaring her. Let's just get it done. Even though they were freaks. She could join them. At least living the life of a rich heiress. Henry made a move not to kill me, but to cut the ropes binding me. He sighed a bit helplessly. How long do you plan to keep playing? He untied my ropes, rubbed my reddened wrists, then kissed them gently. Had enough fun. Melody was dumbstruck. What are you doing? I'm your sister, how could you untie her? She'll tell everyone. As she spoke, she gradually went silent. No matter how stupid, she finally understood something. I stepped towards her, smiling. Melody started to feel confused, recalling things like when her parents died. She screamed in fear, but Gloria remained super calm. So calm it felt like Gloria had killed them. But they were only 6 back then. She always thought she was overthinking. Also, how was it such a coincidence Gloria's adoptive family had a fire? The principal's family didn't have a fire in the past life, did they? She couldn't remember. Past memories collided, leading to a terrifying realization. Her face turned ghostly white as she trembled, staring at me. Gloria, is it you? You're not normal, you're a psycho. A devil. I looked at her, recalling some things about who I am. When I was a kid, my parents thought something was off with me. I could sit there, blank-faced while they slaughtered chickens and ducks. Blood and screams didn't scare me one bit, but I thought they were the odd ones. I couldn't figure out why my dad hit my mom, and why she just took it. Just kill him, I suggested. But Mom just stared at me terrified, calling me a demon. She wouldn't act, so I did. But Mom screamed and even tried to choke me. In the end, she fell into the table and killed herself. My sister and I were left with no family. But I craved that warmth of a family. I wanted interesting family members. Really interesting ones. Eventually I joined the Martins. Emily liked cutting up small animals. I told her it was just a harmless hobby. Henry liked experimenting on people. I always knew. Sometimes he'd leave the lab, and I'd sneak in to admire the things preserved in formaldehyde. Maybe it's because we're alike. They were obsessed with the pure and innocent me, who was secretly darker than them all. They did all the dirty work, while I was just a naive little flower. They were the twisted ones. But the one really in control was me. It was fine like that until Henry got too possessive. He locked me in a room, wanting my attention all for himself. I liked him too, but I had to be the one in control. Then everything reset. To the day Melody and I were at the orphanage. This time I wanted a new family. They were good, but I was getting tired. The principal of the deaf mute school had several students go missing. He might be an interesting family. Then there was John. The way he looked at me was both teasing and malicious. Family needs proper training. But my adoptive father had other intentions. He was the one behind the missing students. John knew but did nothing. I didn't want such scum as family, so I set him on fire. He died with the same twisted, terrified expression as my mom. Demon, he shouted. You're a demon. But I sang in the flames, almost seeing the spirits of the children he hurt. They surrounded him, biting into his flesh as the fire consumed him. How could I be a demon? I'm the monster that devours demons. In this world of vile creatures, lambs cry out in wolf's hands. A natural-born ripper like me is perfect for dealing with pests. So why, dear Mom, don't you like me? I long for a family. My adoptive father burned and John went mad, ending up in a mental hospital. Who would I pick next? Then the gardener showed up. So I ended up here. Didn't expect him to be so into gardening, looking for his own fertilizer. Without Martin's influence, being caught would be bad. Finding a satisfying family is hard. Dad, did you kill him? Melody asked fearfully. Yep, I replied. Oh, I'm reborn too. The family I gave you satisfied. Melody understood it all. Her lips trembled speechless. It was all a lie, everything after rebirth. I wasn't shivering in fear, seeing Henry's family at the orphanage again. I was trembling with excitement. You demon. Melody cried, cursing me. You're the biggest demon. Save me. She turned to Henry begging. Don't let her fool you, she'll kill you all. Stop calling me brother, she isn't allowed. A tall man embraced me from behind, his cold scent enveloping me like frost. My sister is only Gloria. Yes, Henry was reborn too. Or he was recalling past memories. That's why he said he felt like he should have saved me. He was in my room early on because he felt familiar. Half a month ago he remembered everything. In my sleep my wrists were bound. He held my jaw, almost greedily kissed me. Gloria, why did you run from me? Emily came in hugging a bear, staring darkly at me. Why'd you give my bear away? Both siblings remembered in the dark. Henry's tempting voice echoed like a devil, offering an olive branch. Come home, come back to us. Only we are the right family. Seems true. Interesting family members are hard to find. And with them, it felt like a dark flower growing in rotting soil. We keep drawing each other in. Crazy. Melody's fear nearly drowned her. She begged, I'm sorry. I was wrong, I shouldn't have messed with you. Spare me. I leaned in, smiled softly. So how should we deal with you? Henry wrapped his arm around my waist, chin on my shoulder. Whatever Gloria likes. He kissed my forehead, intense and hot. Blood pooled and Melody's cries echoed in the basement. We kissed in the smell of formaldehyde and blood. Severed limbs around us were gifts. The stars outside watching under starlit skies. Galaxies spiraled endlessly. Stars birth from clouds only to fade in icy darkness. Universes create and destroy. In this world we make. We are each other's forever. Half a month later, Emily's birthday party. Boss, I did what you asked. Stephen said nervously. Leave now. Don't let it happen again or you know what will happen. Yes, thank you, boss. His fertilizer scheme got attention. But Martin stepped in. Else he couldn't have escaped clean. I officially became Martin's daughter. Henry mentioned business issues, like Ben and Cindy's company. They've been struggling and we've bought shares. I'm so happy. Emily grinned. I smiled, offering Emily a special birthday gift. A brand new identical plush. Emily loved it. Suddenly she turned to Melody. I want ice cream. Go get me some. Melody glared, annoyed. We're eating. Why should I? Melody was alive. Choosing life over death meant eternal loyalty to the family. The implant inside her would explode otherwise, killing her with internal bleeding. Now she was Emily's toy. Emily was having fun. Emily's expression darkened, stabbing the table knife between Melody's fingers. Will you get me ice cream? Fine, I'll go. Melody grumbled, heading off. Emily stuck out her tongue, making a face. What a lively dinner. Family should be lively. Let's congratulate Gloria for joining our family. Under candlelight we gathered, smiling. So happy being with family. We vowed to always be a family.